Hello and welcome to the Jerry Hicks Show, exclusively on the Censored Freedom Network. Now, the man that thought MAGA extremism was a new part of the X Games, your host, Jerry Hicks.
That only happened once. Thank you so much, Dave. I am Jerry Hicks. This is the Jerry Hicks Show. It is Monday, March the 3rd, 2025. And we have a ton of news to get into, ladies and gentlemen. But before we do, quick shout out to everybody listening, whether you are on BitChute, Rumble, X, or YouTube. We really appreciate all of you guys being along for the ride. Make sure you subscribe, follow, like, share, all of those fun things you do on all those fun platforms. Folks, do not forget we are part of the Censored Freedom Network, everybody, over on the X platform. We do a show on censored freedom once a week, myself and CD Spivey. We just posted the newest episode yesterday, folks, so make sure you go check that out after this show, of course. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, let us hop right on in to the news rack over here and see what we have for offer. This happened on March 1st, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday, agencies canceled 128 contracts for a savings of $60 million. Total termination of wasteful contracts has now surpassed 3,000 since Doge's inception. They are cleaning house. This included a $3.5 million consulting contract for larval fish monitoring that the Bureau of Reclamation identified as non-essential. So Elon and the team are really, well, I say Elon and the team, the Doge team are kicking butt and taking names. There is so much waste in our government that we were all so very unaware of. I can't tell you how happy I am to see this happening. Like I've said on a number of different posts to people, this feels like Christmas every day. I don't know about you guys. Next up, you guys remember they ran the software license audit on a couple different areas of the government, and they found a bunch of WinZip licenses and training licenses, things that just weren't being used, yet were still being paid for. Well, that same audit was run at the Small Business Administration. And here are the findings. We have 10 software products with 10,000 plus licenses when they only have 8,000 employees or contractors, full stop. So there's 2,000 licenses that are just absolutely useless we're paying for. 17,580 unused ServiceNow licenses costing over $2 million annually. Second year in a row spending $1.2 million on 7,000 unused OKTA licenses, whatever that may be, and paying for 1,000 Slack licenses, only using 10. That is 1%, if that, of 1,000 Slack licenses actually being used. Now, it doesn't say how much I don't believe was actually saved amongst the entire here, but yet more Doge cutting, doing exactly what they're supposed to do. Ladies and gentlemen, this country is rich. We've just been wasting our money and having it stolen from us by a large group of not-so-kind actors. And I say actors, I mean bad actors on the political stage. The Office of Personnel Management, about 2,500 employees, budgeted $370 million for IT spending in the fiscal year 2025. They believe this value can be reduced by nearly 80% while maintaining equivalent levels of service. Initial reductions include $1.94 million saved for studies on quantum cryptography and quantum response readiness. See, that one almost seems like something we would need. I'm not sure about that. $1.5 million for support on a large number of OPM-wide AI proof of concepts and pilots. So these are things that never came to fruition. $364,000 for 1,000 unused cybersecurity software licenses, and $121,000 in unused Zoom licenses. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this country is rich if we would pull back, which is what we're doing, pulling back all this unnecessary spending. Like at the DOD, we have an update from the chief Pentagon spokesman, Sam Parnell, of the initial Doge findings at the DoD. Now, these are the initial findings. This isn't the full report. Keep that in mind.
Transparency at this Department of Defense. And America, that is exactly what you're going to get because you deserve it. So at the DoD, we've been working hand in hand with the Doge team. And as the Secretary said, we welcome that process because that process will make us more lethal. And that means that our warfighters on the battlefield will be more successful. And that's what this process is all about. So in the interest of transparency, look at some of the initial things that we found. In the Air Force, $1.9 million for holistic DEI transformation and training.
Again, some of this stuff just sounds like a bunch of words just scrambled together. Maybe that made sense to somebody. Anything with DEI in it just goes above my head. Maybe it's just me.
$6 million to the University of Montana to strengthen American democracy by bridging divides. At the Defense Human Resources Activity, $3.5 million for support to DEI groups. And how about this one? $1.6 million to the University of Florida to study social and institutional detriments of vulnerability and resilience to climate hazards in African Sahel. You see, folks,
why are we spending any money in Africa? Full stop.
This stuff is not a core function of our military. This is not what we do. This is a distraction from our core mission. So we believe that these initial findings will probably save $80 million in wasteful spending. Again, $80 million in wasteful spending just right here. So stay tuned. Today's actions are just the start. More to come this week. Again, we are working hand in glove with Doge. So stay tuned in the weeks ahead as we trim the fat, preserve the muscle, make the DoD more mission capable and more lethal.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Update from the Department of Defense Secretary or Spokesman Sean Parnell. They are cutting wasteful spending and unnecessary spending in Doge. Okay, so this is an update to DEI-related contracts, separate grants by agency here. Holy cow. So Bureau of Land Management had one, Future Trading Commission had one, Consumer Financial Bureau had one. As a matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, you can find this information on the Department of Government Efficiency site on the X platform or doge.gov if you want to follow on and check out more data on what we have presented here, or just want to keep up with their daily updates. That's where you're going to find it, ladies and gentlemen. Again, Department of Government Efficiency on X or doge.gov. DOJ and FBI launch investigation into the $20 billion parked outside financial institution in last-minute heist by Biden's EPA. You guys remember, we reported on this a little while back about the gold bars, right? Not real gold bars, but the guy that said it was like throwing gold bars off the Titanic, trying to spend as much money as they could before Trump came in and stopped it all. Well, apparently there's been a follow-up on that by the DOJ and the FBI. Let's see what we say here. Remember, headlines don't necessarily tell the true story. EPA Chief Lee Zeldin asked the Inspector General to investigate the gold bars heist by Biden's EPA. Recent findings reveal a pattern of reckless financial management, blatant conflicts of interest, astonishing sums of tax dollars awarded, and unqualified recipients, as well as severe deficiencies in regulatory oversight under the prior administration. So, ladies and gentlemen, it does look like the DOJ will be getting involved here. Let's see if we have anything blatant. Yeah, here's the guy that was talking to Project Veritas about the insurance policy against Trump by funneling all the money out, right? Well, they did not expect us to come in and claw it all back, but that's exactly what we've done, ladies and gentlemen. And not only did we claw it back, we're going to be investigating. And this DOJ, this FBI, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, yeah, I really feel that they're actually going to investigate these people and hopefully hold them accountable. And we definitely will be getting all of our, quote, gold bars back, end quote. It's official, ladies and gentlemen. USAID is all but dead. Whatever it was meant to be when John F. Kennedy created the program by executive order in '61, it effectively is no more. Wall Street reported on Sunday that the White House intends to eliminate roughly $60 billion in foreign aid and terminate 92% of grants issued by the U.S. Agency for International Development. And of course, we know, ladies and gentlemen, that the evil man himself, Mr. George Soros, has had his hand in more than enough of these deals. By 1988, George Soros' Open Society Foundation helped establish the East-West Management Institute. Exactly how isn't well understood, so the author of this article asked both Grok and ChatGPT to look into it. Neither was able to come up with much, but both described the relationship as opaque. Soros can do what he wants with his money, except that over the last decade or two, the East-West Management Institute has received an estimated $270 million in tax money, largely through USAID, with another $90 million on tap. What does EWMI do with this money? Well, that's none of your business. Your tax dollars go, or rather went, to a Soros organization that Soros does what Soros wants to with. You just get to pay. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. That's the way it was set up. And this is how George Soros has been able to funnel so much money out of this country and back into one party, and that is not a party that is good for this country. This is where they're getting their money, a lot of it, to fund things like riots in the streets. We know that was funded. We're not stupid, ladies and gentlemen. Among many, many other things. To fund all these anti-American ideas and beliefs, George Soros has said it himself. Before he is unalive, he wants to see the downfall and ruination of the American society. He has said it out of his own lips, ladies and gentlemen, and he's going to use was going to use our own tax money to do it. Was because he can't do that no more. He's not getting paid in our tax dollars anymore. And if you guys have not looked into George or Alex Soros and the Soros Foundation or Open Societies Foundation, ladies and gentlemen, that's a rabbit hole you will not regret going down. I promise you. Trump pauses all military aid, including weapons in transit, to Ukraine after Zelensky says end of war with Russia is very, very far away. Something tells me it just got a whole lot closer. Zelensky, I guess, decided he was... Here we go. Let's play this. This is one of my favorite clips. I know you guys have seen it 100,000 times, but we're going to watch it.
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are not strong...
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to...
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President.
If I'm not mistaken, he just said a curse word toward Vance. I'm not sure, but it sure sounded like it to me.
Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future.
That same threat he gave us last time he was here, right? Gave us under the Biden administration. Well, you'll feel it if you don't do something. However, he forgot who he was talking to.
God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
That.
You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering
position
on
to
this question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
what
I'm not
You're in
dictating.
no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
You
We're
will-
going to feel very
you will
good.
Feel influence.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war,
you're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not
cards.
Playing cards.
Right now, you don't.
Yeah,
you're playing cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. It's
with
back
all
to
respect to
you.
your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once?
A lot of times.
Okay, so I brought that up for a reason, actually. More so than just a part of this story, even though it is a great part of the story. And you can see why he ended weapons in transit. You're going to threaten the United States? Your war is going to end real quickly without our help, by God. But I don't think that was his original plan, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, he insisted on coming over here to sign this mineral rights deal, right? He was all prepared to do it. But right before he met with President Trump and J.D. Vance, he had another little meeting. He had a meeting with Democrats who encouraged him to change his mind, if you will.
I've never been more proud of President Trump.
Oh, hold on. That's not what I thought it was. So it turns out he met with, here we go. Polish diplomat. Don't you hate when you lose the part of the story you're actually looking for? Before meeting with Trump, Zelensky met with anti-Trump Democrats who advised him to reject the terms of the mineral deal the president was offering, according to Senator Chris Murphy, a Democrat senator out of Connecticut. They sabotaged this meeting on purpose. They wanted to try to embarrass Trump on the world stage. I said this yesterday in the Censored Freedom Show talking to Chris. That's exactly what he was trying to do, is embarrass President Trump on a world stage. Of course, this backfired and failed horribly for him, and now the Democrats have this stupid, weird talking point. I'm not sure if I have that story pulled up or not, so I'll just go ahead and go into it, and if we cover it later, we'll cover it later. But they've got this ridiculous talking point that somehow now Trump is a Putin puppet. You know, Russia, Russia, Russia again. We got to have a new hoax. We got to have a new something to go against Trump with, right? Ladies and gentlemen, the left doesn't back Ukraine. Let's be very clear. They don't back Ukraine. They don't like Trump. They're just anti-anything Trump does, right? They want to paint Trump as a Putin puppet if he don't go along with whatever and every word Zelensky says, like bitch boy Biden did. That's not going to happen anymore. That's done. But the Democrats cannot handle that Trump is such a powerful president and is able to do things that they are absolutely not liking. The fact that the whole country, let's just say the whole country, there's enough a majority to call it a whole, is behind President Trump, right? Minus a very, very small pocket. And this small pocket is doing everything they can to sabotage and ruin Trump. Now, they're not going to have an easy time as they did last go around because people know their tricks and know their games. So they got to come up with something different. So right before Zelensky goes in to meet with Trump, he meets with the Democrats. God knows what the hell they promised this guy because he's not going to get it. I don't know if they told him Trump will sign the deal anyway or what, but he was sadly mistaken. Now, again, what they wanted to do was embarrass Trump on a world stage. And you've got Democrats out here screaming bullshit talking points as if that's what happened, but that's not what happened, ladies and gentlemen. Any Democrat out here screaming that Trump did this wrong and he's such a bad guy and this is so appalling hates America, folks. I don't know how much more evidence I need to show you. These are the same people that want to keep giving Taliban $40 million a week. You heard that right. Look it up. Yeah, the Taliban is receiving $40 million a week from this country. That's what the Democrats are trying to save. Right? It's stuff like that. They hate this country. They hate the taxpayer. They don't want to be a government. The Democrats want to be an authoritarian system. That's it. Remember, all of this when you go back to the polls in a year and a half, when you go back to the polls for the midterms, just ask exactly what the Democrats have fought for so far. They fought for waste. They fought for fraud. They fought for Zelensky to come over here and threaten the United States, and they back Zelensky? Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. They're fighting for $40 million a week to Taliban. They hate you. I don't know how much more clear I can make that. So the Democrats tried to sabotage the deal. All they really did is hurt Zelensky just a little bit more, because we aren't going to put up with the crap, and we can cut off what we're already giving him, and we did. Senate confirms Linda McMahon as Education Secretary as Trump vows to shut down Education Department. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know some of you are watching this right now going, oh God, why would they shut down the Education Department? And I ask you this, is the education a part of Article 1, Section 8 that lays out the duties of the government? The answer is no. It is not a part of Article 1, Section 8. Do you know where the Department of Education would lie? On what manifesto, if you will? I've already given it away. That doctrine would lie. That would lie on the Communist Manifesto. The 10 Pillars of Communism. To take over control of education by the government. I don't like state-run, and when I say state-run, I mean federal state-run education. As a matter of fact, since 1980, when the Department of Education was installed into this country to begin with, the same year I was installed into this world, for what lack of a better term, right? The same year I was born. Yeah, I know, I'm an old guy. 1980 is when the Department of Education was created. And ladies and gentlemen, our educational scores from that point on have been on one directional slide, and it isn't upwards, folks. I cannot wait to see the Department of Education shut down. I hope she goes in, submits a zero budget, and closes the doors. Well, what about all the states? Every single state has a Department of Education. There's 50 of them, if not more. So to anybody who thinks the Department of Education being open in the federal side is a good idea, really needs to have their head examined, really needs to go back and look at the Constitution, compare it to the Communist Manifesto, and find out exactly where we're at in this country in relation to communism. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you, we're just a hair's width away. No, that's not hyperbolic. Thank God for Trump, because now we can start to pull back a lot of this stuff that has put us so damn close to communism. One of my favorites, and it's off topic of this particular article, so I'm going to go ahead and jump back on screen for just a minute, ladies and gentlemen. I've said this 100 times, and I'll say it 100,000 more. You do not have private property in this country. I know you've got a deed that you think makes your property private. I don't care how much you think you own your land or own your house. You don't. You paid a lot of money for the right to live there, but you don't own it. Do you know who owns it? That's right, the federal government. Oh, you don't believe me? Don't pay your property tax one time and see what happens. Oh, they come and take your land, don't they? Huh. Well, if you have to pay a fee every year or they come and take your land, you don't own that. You're renting it from the state. You don't have private property in this country. Now, why is this so super important? Why am I spending 4 or 5 minutes just talking about private property when I don't even have a story to back it up? Ladies and gentlemen, do you know what the number one key point of the Communist Manifesto is that all other points must fall under? What must happen before any other point can happen? The abolition of private property. The entire Communist Manifesto hinges on the abolition of private property. And folks, we've had that happen in this country. We do not have private property. That does not exist. If it was, you wouldn't have to pay a yearly fee to continue to live on your private property. That doesn't make any sense, does it? Oh, well, it's just a tax. Maybe, but don't pay it and see what happens. This is the stuff that we need to pay attention to. This is the stuff we need to change, ladies and gentlemen. Period. Property taxes need to be abolished because it ends private property in this country. You're a tenant of your land. You're not an owner. But I am so happy to see Linda McMahon taking over the Department of Education, ladies and gentlemen. I think that is a huge, huge, huge win for America. And I can't wait to see it shut down. I should have had this story up earlier, I think. Reporter who leaked ICE raid details doubles down after being called out by Fox News. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy's a traitor. Pablo Manriquez. We reported on this yesterday on Censored Freedom also. He posted over on X, ICE raids are planned for Monday and Tuesday in Northern Virginia, per multiple sources. He also went on to tell, here we go, ICE raids are planned for Monday, who tells ICE has obtained 75 to 100 judicial warrants. Judicial warrants means ICE can go into your home, so plan accordingly. And he's right. These are judicial bench warrants. They can't be stopped. Remember, or also it says, note, remember that the state police have been deputized to help ICE, so highways, etc. are unsafe. Folks, he's helping out the illegal immigrants in this country, which makes him a criminal himself, a leaker. And he needs to be dealt with as such. Lawrence Jones from Fox News. Now, I don't like Fox News any more than I like CNN or any of the others, because they're all propaganda machines. They just give you a different flavor of propaganda. That's it. With that said, of Fox News, Lawrence Jones calls out reporter Pablo Manriquez, wannabe reporter if you ask me, a former staffer for the Democrat National Committee, now that tracks, for leaking ICE raids in Northern Virginia this week. He said, when you start to aid and abet, he's clearly trying to help those people, and he is. He's aiding and abetting criminals. So he doubles down, ladies and gentlemen, with probably one of the most ignorant and retarded comebacks I think I've heard in a very, very long time. He said, funny thing about all those bros bitching about my scoop is that, and it wasn't a scoop, bud. That wasn't a scoop. That was illegal. Oh, man, I did not mean to hit that button. Bitching about my scoop is that none have asked for an interview. They aren't news people because they are not trying to find out anything new. They're just mediocre keyboard warriors with bully pulpits that are too easy to ignore. Really? I'm a keyboard warrior and that has a bully pulpit. Really? Well, the reason nobody wants to interview you, Pablo, is because we don't deal with traitors. We prosecute traitors. That's why nobody cares for an interview, bud. They don't want to talk to you. And if you were trying to do this to get fame, I don't think you got it the right way, buddy. As a matter of fact, I think you got it absolutely the wrong way. You'll be joining AOC because she also has been notified that she has been referred to the DOJ for investigation for doing exactly the same thing. Well, she has spoken out about...
You had a recent dispute, if that's the right word, with Tom Homan, the president's Homeland Security czar, so-called. You held an online forum, a Know Your Rights forum, that he didn't like. What were you doing? What was your goal as you saw it?
My job is to educate and act as a liaison of critical information to my constituents. And I was informing all of my constituents of their constitutional protections. And
ladies and gentlemen, her constituents, the legal citizens, they have constitutional protections. Illegals do not.
In particular,
or should not.
Their constitutional protections against illegal search and seizure in the United States.
Homan was upset, I suppose, because he felt that you were giving advice to people who were here illegally. Were you?
I was giving advice to all of my constituents.
You notice how she is speaking very carefully now.
Yeah.
A whole lot more carefully than she was on a live stream.
He said he was going to report you, or even that he did reach out to the Department of Justice. Have you heard from the Department of Justice?
I have not, and I intend on reaching out to the Department of Justice to inquire.
Really? What would your question be for the Department of Justice?
Well, there is a member of the Trump administration who is threatening and seeks to open an inquiry, and are you going to do it?
What would you learn? What do you hope to learn from that exchange?
I think it's important to know where this administration stands and if they intend on using political intimidation to silence their critics.
No, I'm sorry. That's only the left that pulls that bullshit. We stand on law and order, you know? So when you go against the laws of this country and do things that could harm the citizens of this country, yeah, we tend to put you up to investigation. That's exactly what happens. Then you've got the left side who, once again, weaponized the political systems and the DOJ and the FBI against true patriotic people. Like this lady here, Tina Peters, folks. Tina Peters is a hero in her own right. The U.S. Department of Justice files statement of interest in the case of the Gold Star mother, Tina Peters, an evaluation of the case to inflict political pain. So I don't like the way they write these headlines sometimes. Basically, they wrote a letter. Who was this? I want to be clear. The DOJ wrote a letter posing interest in this case. While the case is a state case and thus offers federal government no opportunity to issue a pardon, the Department of Justice, under Attorney General Pam Bondi, has thrown itself into the ring. Today, the DOJ filed a statement of interest. It says Ms. Peters is currently incarcerated while pursuing a direct appeal of her underlying nonviolent convictions and combined 9-year sentence. The application explains that Ms. Peters suffers from serious health and mental issues that have only caused deterioration since she's been in there. The concerns related to, among other things, the exceptional lengthy sentence imposed relative to the conduct at issue, the First Amendment implication of the trial court's October 24 assertions, and whether Colorado's denial of bail pending appeal was arbitrary or unreasonable under the 8th and 14th Amendment. Accordingly, the United States respectfully submits that the concerns raised in the application warrant, at the very least, prompt careful consideration by this court. Parallel to these proceedings and Mrs. Peters' direct appeal, the Department of Justice is reviewing cases across the nation for abuses of the criminal justice process, and we know that it was abused. This review will include an evaluation of the prosecution of Ms. Peters, whether the case is oriented more toward inflicting political pain than toward pursuing actual justice or legitimate government objectives. Remember, all she did, ladies and gentlemen, was take an image. What she was supposed to do, her job is what she did. She took an image of the database of the voter machine before and after an update, because she is supposed to keep concise records for up to 22 months, I think it was, after the election. So that's exactly what she did. And because she caught the fraud that was being done, instead of admitting their fraud, they railroaded this woman into court, give her a fake kangaroo court trial, just like they tried to do to Trump, except she didn't have the money to fight it like Trump was able to do, and she ended up paying a price for doing the job she was supposed to do and being a patriot and protecting this country. Tina Peters needs to be released immediately, and anybody who worked to put her in jail needs to have their bar license pulled or be removed from the bench, full stop. And if I have offended anybody tonight, I don't care. I hope I offend you, right? It don't matter to me whatsoever. This is deeply troubling, ladies and gentlemen. School district accused of hiding help from white students. Now, I don't know how any of you guys feel about this, but let's change this article with one word. School district accused of hiding help from black students, from Asian students. From Puerto Rican students. Wow, that makes it bad. Just as bad as if it's for white students. There's programs that are going on in a school district in Fresno that the parents nor students, if they're white, are being notified exist. You cannot discriminate on the basis of color. Title IX, right? Title IX they wanted to fight about so much for women and men's sports. By the way, the Democrats voted down taking men out of women's sports tonight. Yeah. Again, the Democrats hate you, ladies and gentlemen. Especially if you're white. They really hate you then. And if you're a white male, you can give it up. You're public enemy number one to the Democrats. Folks, any white male that votes for a Democrat just doesn't understand what in the world you're doing, or you hate this country. One of the two. But that's the only two things I can come up with. The screenwriter of the movie Reagan, yes, about President Ronald Reagan, says that because of DEI requirements, his movie was disqualified from the Oscars. As if the Oscars is worth bragging about. Anyway, probably one of the most bullshit Hollywood, award shows there is. Then again, all Hollywood award shows are bullshit, so who are we kidding? But because his movie was too white, it didn't follow the DEI. He didn't have a colored lead character, right? Or a woman, or a colored woman. They didn't make Reagan something that he wasn't. It didn't follow DEI requirements, so it's not available for the Oscars. Ladies and gentlemen, this should tell you just how rigged the damn Oscars are. For one. Number two, it tells you that they need to be shut down because they have DEI requirements which are illegal in this country. So let's go ahead and get rid of the Oscars. They're useless anyway. Nobody cares about these Hollywood people that spend more time on Epstein's Island than they did helping Americans. And just be done with it. All right, and here's the most disturbing story of the night, ladies and gentlemen. Elon Musk sounds the alarm on severe propaganda behind attempts on his life. Here he is on Joe Rogan.
You kind of be silly to not do that. If you were a part of a group of people that's passing a bill, and you know this bill's going to get passed, you know the votes are there, and you know it's going to affect this industry and this particular manufacturer, and you can buy stock.
It's more than just insider trading. Like the insider trading stuff, like the stock portfolio stuff is quite trackable, but there's, it's a lot more than insider trading.
The way they're acquiring wealth.
Correct.
And what other methods?
I mean, this is really going to get me assassinated. It's like, I'm not lengthening my lifespan by explaining this stuff, to say the least. I mean, I was supposed to go back to D.C. How am I going to survive? This fucker's going to kill me for sure.
Yeah, and what's sad, ladies and gentlemen, is we can blame mainly one group and one group only for this. And that is the propagandists that are the left-wing media. These guys right here. I don't know why that's clicked. Oh, that just happens to be their top story now. I know, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have got to be screaming, Jerry, what the hell are you doing at CNN? I came over here to prove a point. I always bitch about CNN, but I'm a guy that likes to show my work, right? So here's the kind of propaganda I'm talking about. The president levies against the U.S. top 3 trading partners are sparking fears of global trade war. If Biden had done this, it would be praised. Right? Right or wrong? Trump supporters in deep red Georgia County walks away from CNN interview and pressed about Musk's actions. Oh, they were asking stupid questions. They played FAFO. They found out you asked Republicans stupid questions, that we're not going to waste our time with you. Of course, they're very upset about Zelensky, right? How dare Trump do what he did? Trump officials select Zelensky should step aside. Here's why that's nearly impossible. Trump pauses military aid to Ukraine after Oval Office argument with Zelensky. That's actually kind of down the middle. I'll give it to it. So this is just their main page. Of course, this is where they spin the propaganda as quickly as they can and move it back out. So I went to looking across this site some more. Dem Senator, President Trump looks like he's in Putin's camp. Here it is. This is what I was talking about earlier, ladies and gentlemen. They're Russia, Russia, Russia. He's a friend of Putin. Because he didn't do what Zelensky wanted, he must be in Putin's camp.
What's your advice to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky this morning? If he's listening, what do you think he should do?
Look, what happened in the Oval Office the other day was reprehensible, right? Because we watched the president and the vice
doing the way he did and talking to our president like that, absolutely reprehensible.
Vice president, bully President Zelensky, who.
Oh, you meant Trump. Oh, you're an idiot. Got it.
Who has always said that he appreciates American support. I was part of that meeting that took place just before his.
No, it doesn't matter what he said previously. It's what did he say in that meeting. You see how already they're trying to spin this narrative, but wait, there's more.
His meeting with the president, with other senators, and he again bent over backwards to talk about how grateful he was to the United States. So, look, if I'm President Zelensky right now, number one, I need to continue to solidify my support in Europe because I will tell you, John, right now, Donald Trump, President Trump, does look like he's very much in Putin's camp. I didn't think we would.
You see, you hear this shit again, ladies and gentlemen? The same old dim talking points over and over and over and over. Either you do what we say or you're a Russian puppet. You're a Putin puppet.
Would see the day when we had the Russians openly gloating as they are today and the day before.
So more propaganda is what I'm getting at. Then I was looking across this site and I found they added a new section, ladies and gentlemen. Because, you know, CNN, the propaganda machine that they are, they've got to keep everybody informed with their fake checkers. I mean, fact checkers. They're lying bullshit checkers, right? Fact check, 33 times Zelensky thanked Americans and U.S. leaders. Yes, but did he do it during that meeting? That's what was in question. Trump makes numerous false claims at cabinet meeting. False by whose standards? CNN, who's lying propagandist? 8 ways Elon Musk has misled Americans about government spending. See, it's propaganda like this, and that's all this page is anti-Trump, anti-Musk propaganda. There's nothing else here. There's no other fact check here. It's all anti-Trump, 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 anti-Trump. This is bullshit. This is the kind of propaganda that CNN is trying to shove down people's throats and make people believe, those 5 people that still look at their shit. Yes, I am cursing a little bit because it pisses me off that they're able to get away with this thanks to the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act. That they have no legal or moral obligation to tell you the truth anymore. Clearly they don't have a moral obligation. They would have followed it. But they have no obligation to tell you the truth, ladies and gentlemen. The news can lie to you as much as they like. We covered it last week on the show. We actually went and looked at the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, which needs to absolutely be repealed. It is what lets the news lie to you, lets the CIA use the same propaganda they use in foreign countries on you. Yeah. These are not news media organizations anymore. We don't have many of those left anymore, if any. These organizations are nothing more than propaganda machines. That's it. CNN, MSNBC, or DNC, whichever, BSNBC, Fox News, again, they're just as bad, ladies and gentlemen. Any of these public cable news channels aren't giving you news. They're giving you opinion. They're being activist. They're not bringing you the news straight down the middle. They have a slant one way or the other. Whether they're honest about it or not. CNN still trying to call themselves news is bullshit. That's like calling Joe Biden smart. It's not real. At all. But according to the fake news propaganda, Biden had it all together. Remember, he doesn't have dementia or wasn't losing his mind. No, that's all in your head. Ladies and gentlemen, that music means it's the end of the show. I am Jerry Hicks. This has been another episode of the Jerry Hicks Show. Remember to check us out on X, Rumble, YouTube, BitChute. We are a part of the Censored Freedom Network on the X platform, so make sure you check us out over there also. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, until tomorrow, until next we meet, remember, stay awake, but dare to dream. Stand strong, patriots. Good night, everybody.